The city never slept. Bright neon lights flickered against the dark sky, casting colorful reflections on puddles left behind by an earlier rain. Cars zoomed past with a low hum, their tires splashing water onto the cracked sidewalks. In a quiet alley tucked between towering buildings, a small repair shop stood unnoticed by most people. Above its door hung a faded sign that read, "Jason's Fix-It Shop." Inside, Jason worked silently at his cluttered workbench. His hands moved with practiced ease, tightening screws and soldering wires. Tools lay scattered around him, some old, some new, but all were well used. The air smelled faintly of oil and metal. A radio played soft music in the background, though Jason barely noticed it. But he was focused on his latest project, a broken clock brought in by an elderly man who swore it had been ticking perfectly until yesterday. Jason wasn't just any mechanic. While others fixed cars or appliances, he specialized in repairing things most would throw away. Broken toys, malfunctioning gadgets, even antique devices no one understood anymore. To him, every object had a story, and fixing them felt like giving those stories another chance to continue. As he finished assembling the clock, the bell above the shop door jingled softly. Jae-soon looked up to see a woman step inside. She wore a plain coat, her face partly hidden beneath the hood. Her eyes darted around the room before settling on Jae-sun. She looked nervous, but determined. "Can I help you?" Jae-sun asked, setting down his screwdriver. The woman hesitated for a moment, and then reached into her bag and pulled out something small. It was a metallic dragon toy, no bigger than her palm. Its surface shimmered faintly under the dim light, and its wings appeared bent and cracked. One of its glowing red eyes flickered weakly, while the other remained dark. "I need this fixed," she said finally, her voice soft but urgent. "Please!" Jae-sun took the toy from her hands and examined it closely. At first glance, it seemed like an ordinary children's plaything, but the craftsmanship was unlike anything he'd ever seen. Tiny gears peeked through gaps in its body, and intricate patterns etched into its surface resembled ancient runes. Whatever this was, it wasn't made in any factory on Earth. "What happened to it?" Jae-soon asked, turning it over in his hands. "I dropped it," the woman replied quickly, avoiding his gaze. "It means a lot to me. Can you fix it?" Jae-soon nodded slowly. "I'll do my best, but I've never seen anything like this before. It might take some time." The woman let out a small sigh of relief. "Thank you. My name is HFY-Earthborn, by the way." "I'm Jae-soon," he said, placing the dragon carefully on the counter. "Come back tomorrow evening. I should have it ready by then." HFY-Earthborn nodded again, still looking uneasy. Before leaving, she glanced toward the window as if checking if anyone was watching. Then she turned and hurried out of the shop, disappearing into the crowded streets. That night, after closing up the shop, Jae-soon began working on the dragon. He started by inspecting its damaged wing. The metal was surprisingly light yet incredibly strong, resisting his attempts to bend it back into shape. As he worked, and he couldn't shake the feeling that there was something strange about this toy. Every time he touched it, a faint tingling sensation ran through his fingers, almost like static electricity. He decided to open it up to see how it worked. Using a fine-tipped screwdriver, he carefully pried apart the seams along its belly. Inside, he found a maze of tiny components, miniature circuits, glowing crystals, and gears so small they could only be seen with a magnifying glass. None of it made sense. There were no batteries, no visible power source, yet the faint glow persisted. "This isn't human tech," Jae-sun muttered to himself. "What exactly are you?" Hours passed as he meticulously cleaned and repaired each piece. By midnight, he had managed to restore one of the wings and reattach it. Just as he was about to test it, the shop grew eerily quiet. And the radio stopped playing mid-song, and the hum of the city outside seemed to fade away. Jae-sun froze, listening intently. Something didn't feel right. A shadow moved near the corner of the room, darker than the rest. Jae-sun grabbed a nearby wrench and stood up cautiously. "Who's there?" he called out. No answer came, but the shadow shifted again, creeping closer. Suddenly, the dragon on the counter emitted a soft hum, its red eye flaring briefly. The shadow recoiled, retreating back into the darkness. Moments later, the radio crackled back to life, and the familiar sounds of the city returned. Jae-sun stared at the dragon, his heart racing. "What was that?" he whispered. For the rest of the night, he couldn't shake the feeling that someone, or something, was watching him. He locked the shop doors extra tightly before heading upstairs to his apartment, carrying the dragon with him. Sleep didn't come easily. Every creak of the building made him jump. Yet despite his unease, he couldn't stop thinking about the dragon. What secrets did it hold? And why had Hae-rin been so desperate to get it fixed? Little did Jae-sun know, his decision to take on this seemingly simple repair job would change everything, not just for him, but for the entire world. The next morning, Jae-sun woke up feeling restless. The events of the previous night lingered in his mind. The strange shadow, the dragon's sudden glow, and the eerie silence that had fallen over his shop. He tried to convince himself it was just his imagination playing tricks on him, but deep down, he knew something unusual was happening. After a quick breakfast, he returned to his workbench to continue fixing the dragon toy. As he examined it again, he noticed more details he had missed before. Tiny symbols etched into its metallic surface seemed to shimmer faintly when touched. They weren't random marks. They looked like writing, though in a language he couldn't understand. Jae-sun traced one of the symbols with his finger, and the dragon emitted a soft hum in response. Startled, he pulled his hand back quickly. "What are you?" he murmured under his breath. He decided to focus on repairing the dragon's damaged eye next. Using tweezers, he carefully removed the cracked lens covering the darkened eye. Beneath it, he found a glowing crystal embedded in the dragon's body. It pulsed gently, almost like a heartbeat. Jae-sun adjusted the crystal slightly, and to his amazement, the dragon's second eye flickered back to life, glowing as brightly as the first. "There we go," he said with satisfaction. "One step closer." But as soon as the second eye lit up, the dragon's entire body began vibrating softly. Jae-sun watched in awe as its wings unfolded and flapped once, slowly, then folded back into place. It wasn't alive, not exactly, but it felt alive in a way that defied logic. For a moment, Jae-sun thought he heard a faint whisper, so quiet it could have been the wind. He shook his head, dismissing it as fatigue. Later that afternoon, Hae-rin returned to the shop. She looked even more anxious than the day before, her eyes darting around nervously as she stepped inside. When she saw the dragon sitting on the counter, her expression softened with relief. "You fixed it?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. "Almost," Jae-sun replied. "It still needs some fine-tuning, but I've never seen anything like this before. Where did you get it?" Hae-rin hesitated, clearly debating whether to answer. Finally, she said, "It's complicated. Just know that it's important. Very important." Jae-sun frowned. "Important enough for someone to break into my shop last night?" Her eyes widened in alarm. "What do you mean? Someone broke in?" "No one got inside," Jae-sun admitted. "But something strange happened. A shadow moved around the room, and the dragon reacted to it. Do you know what that means?" Hae-rin's face paled, and she glanced toward the window again. "I don't know who or what you saw, but if they're here, it's bad news." Before Jae-sun could press her further, the bell above the door jingled again. A man walked in, and dressed in a dark coat and sunglasses despite the cloudy weather. His presence immediately made both Jae-sun and Hae-rin tense. Can I help you? Jason asked cautiously. The man ignored him and turned to Hyrin. You shouldn't have brought it here, he said in a low, gravelly voice. This isn't safe. I had no choice, Hyrin snapped, stepping protectively in front of the dragon. It needed repairs, and he's good at what he does. The man's gaze shifted to Jae-sun, and for a brief moment, Jae-sun felt a chill run down his spine. There was something unnatural about the way the man stared, like he was looking right through him. We need to leave. Now, the man said firmly. No, Hyrin replied, surprising even herself with her defiance. Not until it's fully repaired. The man sighed and reached into his pocket. Jae-sun instinctively grabbed a wrench from the counter, ready to defend himself if necessary. But instead of pulling out a weapon, the man produced a small device that resembled a remote control. He pressed a button, and the dragon on the counter suddenly came to life. Its eyes glowed brighter than ever, and its wings spread wide as it hovered slightly above the surface. Then, without warning, it projected a holographic image onto the wall behind it. The image showed a map of Earth, covered in glowing dots and cryptic symbols. Some areas were marked with red X's, while others had green circles. What is this? Jae-sun asked, staring at the map in disbelief. It's not supposed to do that yet, Hyrin whispered, her voice filled with dread. The man cursed under his breath. We've already drawn too much attention. We need to go. And now? Before anyone could react, the lights in the shop flickered violently, plunging the room into darkness. When they came back on a few seconds later, the man was gone, and so was the dragon. Jae-sun turned to Hyrin, his heart pounding. What just happened? She looked at him, tears welling up in her eyes. They took it. Those people. They're dangerous. Who are they? Jae-sun demanded. And why does everyone keep saying it instead of calling it a toy? Hyrin hesitated, then finally spoke. It's not a toy. It's an artifact, a piece of technology created by an alien race called the Vaylith. They visited Earth centuries ago and left behind objects like this one. These artifacts are meant to guide humanity toward peaceful coexistence with other species. But there are factions among the Vaylith who want to reclaim them for their own purposes. If they succeed, it could mean disaster for Earth. Jae-sun stared at her, trying to process what she was saying. Aliens, artifacts, dangerous factions. None of it sounded real, but the evidence was right in front of him. The dragon's impossible mechanics, the mysterious map, and now the men who had taken it. I don't care about aliens or whatever, Jae-sun said finally. That thing trusted me, I felt it, and now it's gone because of those guys. Hyrin nodded slowly. I understand how you feel, but getting it back won't be easy. Those people aren't human either. Jae-sun clenched his fists. Then tell me everything you know, because I'm not letting this go. For the rest of the evening, Hyrin explained the history of the Vaylith and their connection to Earth. She told him about their advanced technology, their dragon-like forms, and the ongoing conflict between different factions within their society. She also warned him that the rogue group who had taken the dragon would stop at nothing to use it for destruction. As the sun set outside, casting long shadows across the shop floor, Jae-sun realized his life had changed forever. What started as a simple repair job had spiraled into something far greater and far more dangerous. But one thing was clear. He couldn't walk away now. Little did he know, the dragon wasn't done with him yet. The days that followed were tense for Jae-sun. After Hyrin's revelation about the Vaylith and their dangerous factions, he couldn't stop thinking about the dragon. It wasn't just an artifact. It was alive in a way he couldn't fully explain. He had felt its energy, its trust, and now it was gone, stolen by those shadowy figures who seemed to come from another world entirely. Hyrin stayed close, helping him piece together clues about the rogue faction. She explained that they called themselves the Kael'thar Syndicate, a group of Valith rebels who sought to use ancient artifacts like the dragon to gain power over other species. Their ultimate goal, she said, was domination, not coexistence. If they succeeded in unlocking the dragon's full potential, Earth would become a target for invasion. Jason didn't know much about aliens or intergalactic politics, but one thing was clear: he couldn't let them win. "We need to get it back," he told Hyarin firmly. "But how?" She hesitated, then said, "So there might be someone who can help us. Her name is Minju. She's different, a hacker, but also someone who knows more about these artifacts than anyone else on Earth." "Why would she help us?" Jason asked. "She owes me a favor," Hyarin replied simply. "And besides, if the Kael'thar succeed, we're all in trouble." That night, they met Minju in a dimly lit cafe on the outskirts of the city. She was younger than Jason expected, with sharp eyes and quick movements. Her laptop sat open on the table, displaying streams of code and encrypted files. When Hyarin introduced Jason, Minju gave him a long, appraising look before nodding curtly. "So you're the mechanic," she said, her tone skeptical. "You fixed part of the dragon?" "I did," Jason replied, feeling defensive. "What's it to you?" Minju smirked. It means you've got guts, or stupidity. Either way, you're already involved. Tell me everything." Jason recounted the events leading up to the theft, including the strange hums, holographic map, and the eerie sensation of being watched. Minju listened intently, occasionally typing notes into her laptop. When he finished, she leaned back in her chair and exhaled sharply. "This is worse than I thought," she muttered. "If the Kael'thar have activated the dragon's mapping function, they're planning something big. Those red X's on the map? They mark locations where they'll strike first." "Strike what?" Jason asked, his stomach sinking. "Anywhere with advanced technology or large populations," Minju replied grimly. "They'll use the dragon to locate weak points and exploit them." Hyarin looked pale. We don't have much time." Minju nodded. "Here's the plan. I'll track their movements through digital footprints. Every alien faction leaves traces when they interact with human systems, even the Kael'thar. Meanwhile, you two need to figure out how to counteract whatever they're doing with the dragon. That means finding its core function." "What's its core function?" Jason asked. "That's the tricky part," Minju admitted. "Artifacts like this are designed to adapt. Without seeing it again, we won't know exactly what it can do, or what they've made it do." For the next few days, the trio worked tirelessly. Minju monitored networks and hacked into restricted databases, searching for signs of the Kael'thar's activity. Hyarin scoured old texts and records about the Valith, hoping to uncover forgotten details about their technology. And Jason, meanwhile, focused on building tools that might interface with the dragon if they ever got it back. Their efforts paid off one evening when Minju burst into Jason's shop with urgent news. "I found them," she announced breathlessly. "They're holed up in an abandoned warehouse near the docks, but we need to move fast. They're preparing to activate the dragon's final function." "What does that mean?" Jason asked, dread creeping into his voice. "It means they're going to weaponize it," Minju replied. "Once they do, there's no stopping them." Without hesitation, they devised a risky plan. Minju would create a distraction by triggering alarms and security breaches throughout the warehouse district, drawing attention away from the Kael'thar's hideout. Hyarin and Jason would sneak inside and retrieve the dragon. And it was dangerous, but they had no other choice. Under the cover of darkness, they approached the warehouse. The air smelled of salt water and rust, and the distant sound of waves crashing against the shore echoed around them. Minju gave them a thumbs up before disappearing into the shadows, leaving Jason and Hyarin to face the task ahead. Inside the warehouse, rows of crates and machinery provided ample hiding spots. They moved cautiously, sticking to the edges of the room. In the center stood the dragon, suspended in mid-air by some kind of energy field. Its eyes glowed brighter than ever, and faint sparks danced along its surface. Around it, several figures in dark cloaks worked at consoles, their movements hurried and precise. Jae-sun's heart raced as he spotted the dragon. It looked different now, larger, more menacing. Whatever the Kael'thar had done to it, it was changing. "We need to disable that field," Hyarin whispered. "Can you do it?" Jae-sun nodded. Using a small device he'd built earlier, he carefully approached the console controlling the energy field. His hands trembled as he adjusted the settings, but after a few tense moments, the field flickered and disappeared. The dragon dropped gently to the ground, its wings folding inward. Before they could grab it, however, a loud alarm blared through the warehouse. Lights flashed, illuminating every corner. The cloaked figures turned toward them, their glowing eyes betraying their alien nature. "You shouldn't have come here," one of them growled, stepping forward. Jae-sun instinctively reached for the dragon, clutching it tightly. To his surprise, it responded instantly, glowing warmly in his hands. A low hum filled the air, and the dragon's wings spread wide, creating a barrier between them and the advancing Kael'thar. "Run!" Hyarin shouted, pulling Jae-sun toward the exit. They sprinted through the chaos, dodging blasts of energy fired by the enraged aliens. Behind them, the dragon continued to emit a protective shield, fending off attacks. Just as they reached the door, Min-ju appeared, holding a smoking gadget in her hand. "Took you long enough," she yelled, grinning despite the danger. Together they fled into the night, the dragon safely in Jae-sun's arms. As they disappeared into the city streets, the warehouse erupted in flames behind them, courtesy of Min-ju's sabotage. Back at the shop, they collapsed onto chairs, exhausted but triumphant. The dragon rested on the counter, and its glow dimming slightly as if it too needed rest. "We did it," Jae-sun said softly, staring at the artifact. "Now what?" Hyarin exchanged a glance with Min-ju. "Now," she said, "we prepare for what's coming next, because this isn't over, not by a long shot." Little did they know, the dragon had already begun bonding with Jae-sun in ways none of them could predict. Its secrets, and its true purpose, were only beginning to unfold. The days following their narrow escape from the Kael'thar were tense but quiet. Jae-sun, Hyarin, and Min-ju spent most of their time at the repair shop, trying to understand the dragon's full capabilities. The artifact seemed to respond only to Jae-sun now, glowing faintly whenever he touched it. Its presence felt alive, almost sentient. And Jae-sun couldn't shake the feeling that it was communicating with him, though not through words. One evening, while examining the dragon under a bright lamp, Jae-sun noticed something new. Tiny symbols etched into its surface began to shift and rearrange themselves, forming patterns that shimmered like liquid metal. As he traced one of the symbols with his finger, the dragon emitted a soft hum, and a holographic projection burst forth above it. This time, instead of a map, the image showed stars swirling across a vast galaxy. Among them floated colossal dragon-like shapes, their wings spanning light years. "What is this?" Jae-sun whispered, mesmerized. Hyarin leaned closer, her eyes wide with awe. "It's showing us the Veilith," she said softly. "Their true forms." Min-ju adjusted her glasses, studying the projection intently. "Listen, look there." She pointed to a cluster of stars near the edge of the galaxy. "That's Earth. They're marking it." "Why?" Jae-sun asked, his voice trembling slightly. "They want to protect it, or destroy it," Hyarin replied grimly. "Depends on who controls the dragon." As they continued to study the hologram, the dragon grew brighter, its glow pulsing rhythmically. Suddenly, Jae-sun felt a strange warmth spread through his body. His vision blurred for a moment, and when it cleared, he found himself standing in a dreamlike landscape. Above him stretched an endless sky filled with stars, and below him lay clouds that shimmered like silver mist. In the distance, he saw massive dragons soaring gracefully, their scales reflecting light like prisms. "Where am I?" Jae-sun murmured. A deep, resonant voice echoed around him. You are within the heart of the dragon." Jae-sun spun around, searching for the source of the voice. A figure emerged from the clouds, a towering dragon with eyes that glowed like molten gold. It lowered its massive head until it was level with Jae-sun. "I chose you," the dragon said, its voice calm yet powerful. "You have shown courage and kindness. Together, we can safeguard this world." "What do you mean?" Jae-sun asked, his mind racing. "How can I help?" "The Kael'thar seek to corrupt my purpose," the dragon explained. "They wish to use me as a weapon, but I was created to guide and protect. With your bond, we can resist them." Before Jae-sun could respond, the vision faded, and he woke up in his chair at the shop. The dragon sat quietly on the counter, its glow dimming back to normal. Hye-Rin and Min-ju were staring at him, a concern etched on their faces. "Are you okay?" Hye-Rin asked. "You were out for nearly an hour." Jae-sun rubbed his temples, still processing what had happened. I think the dragon showed me something. It wants me to protect Earth." Min-ju raised an eyebrow. "So you're saying you're bonded to it now? Like some kind of alien guardian?" "It looks that way," Jae-sun admitted. "But I don't know how to fight the Kael'thar. I'm just a mechanic." "You're more than that," Hye-Rin said firmly. "You fixed the dragon when no one else could. That makes you special, not just to us, but to it." Over the next few days, Jae-sun practiced connecting with the dragon. Each time he touched it, the bond grew stronger. He discovered it could project shields, emit bursts of energy, and even interface with other machines. It was clear that the dragon wasn't just a tool, it was a partner. Yet the more powerful it became, the more dangerous their situation grew. One night, as rain pounded against the shop windows, Min-ju suddenly gasped, her laptop screen flashing red. "They're coming," she said urgently. "The Kael'thar are heading this way." "How do you know?" Hye-Rin asked, panic rising in her voice. "They've hacked into every security camera in the area," Min-ju replied. "They're tracking us." Jae-sun grabbed the dragon instinctively. "We need to move. Now!" They hurried outside, the storm soaking them instantly. Lightning illuminated the dark streets as they ran toward an abandoned subway station nearby. Min-ju led the way, guiding them through tunnels and passageways until they reached a hidden chamber deep underground. "This should buy us some time," she said, locking the heavy door behind them, "but not much." As they caught their breath, the dragon began to vibrate in Jae-sun's hands. Its eyes flared brightly, and a low rumble filled the air. Moments later, the ground shook violently as something massive crashed into the city above. Through cracks in the ceiling, they saw flashes of light and heard deafening roars. "They've brought reinforcements," Hye-Rin whispered. Jae-sun clenched his fists. "Then it's time to fight back." With the dragon glowing fiercely, Jae-sun stepped forward. The bond between them surged, and the dragon transformed before their eyes. Its small metallic form expanded rapidly, growing into a towering mech-like creature with gleaming armor and wings that spanned the entire chamber. Jae-sun climbed onto its back instinctively, finding a control panel embedded in its neck. "Get ready!" he shouted to Hye-Rin and Min-ju as the dragon smashed through the ceiling and soared upward. Above ground, chaos reigned. The Kael'thar had unleashed a second dragon mech, piloted by one of their commanders. It loomed over the city, firing blasts of energy that shattered buildings and sent debris flying. Civilians screamed and fled in terror. Jae-sun guided the dragon toward the enemy, his heart pounding. Though he had no experience piloting such a machine, the bond allowed him to move as if it were an extension of his own body. The two dragons clashed mid-air, their wings creating shock waves that rippled through the stormy sky. The battle was fierce and unrelenting. The Kael'thar commander attacked relentlessly, but Jason's dragon fought back with surprising agility. Sparks flew as their claws collided, and beams of energy lit up the night. Despite the odds, Jason refused to give up. Every strike he dodged, every blow he countered, strengthened his resolve. Finally, seizing an opening, Jason directed the dragon to unleash a concentrated burst of energy straight at the enemy mech. The attack struck true, causing the Kael'thar dragon to falter and crash to the ground. Its pilot emerged, snarling in rage, but before he could retaliate, Hyarin and Minju arrived, armed with makeshift weapons they'd scavenged from the tunnels. "Finish it!" Hyarin yelled. Jason nodded, channeling all his strength into one final command. The dragon roared, releasing a wave of energy that enveloped the Kael'thar commander. When the light faded, he was gone. And so was the threat. Exhausted but victorious, Jason landed the dragon gently in the middle of the ruined street. As its glow dimmed, he climbed down, his legs trembling from the effort. Hyarin and Minju rushed to his side, relief and admiration shining in their eyes. "You did it," Hyarin said softly. "You saved us." But Jason knew the fight wasn't truly over. Somewhere out there, others like the Kael'thar still lurked, waiting for their chance to strike. For now, though, the city was safe, and so was Earth. Little did Jason realize the dragon's awakening had set something greater into motion. Its bond with him marked the beginning of a new era, one where humans and aliens would walk side by side, whether they were ready or not. The aftermath of the battle left the city scarred but alive. Smoke rose from crumbled buildings, and an emergency sirens wailed in the distance as rescue teams worked tirelessly to help those affected. Despite the destruction, there was a sense of relief, a fragile peace that hung in the air like morning mist. For Jason, however, the weight of what had happened pressed heavily on his shoulders. He stood silently beside the dragon mech, now returned to its smaller form, watching as Hyarin and Minju helped guide survivors to safety. "You've changed everything," Hyarin said softly, approaching him. Her voice carried both admiration and concern. "The Kael'thar won't forget this. They'll come back." "I know," Jason replied, his gaze fixed on the horizon. "But we stopped them, for now. That's something." Minju joined them, brushing dust off her jacket. "Yeah, well, next time we might not get so lucky. We need a plan. Hey, something bigger than running and hiding." Jason nodded slowly. She was right. The Kael'thar were just one faction among many, and their defeat wouldn't deter others from seeking the dragon's power. Earth wasn't ready for another attack. Not yet. But maybe it could be. Over the following weeks, Jason dedicated himself to understanding the dragon fully. With Hyarin's knowledge of the Vaelith and Minju's technical expertise, they began unlocking its secrets piece by piece. They discovered that the dragon wasn't just a weapon, it was a bridge, a tool designed to connect humanity with the Vaelith and other species across the galaxy. Its purpose wasn't domination, but unity. As Jason spent more time with the dragon, he noticed subtle changes within himself. His thoughts became clearer, his instincts sharper. The bond between them grew stronger every day, allowing him to access abilities he never imagined possible. The dragon taught him how to create protective barriers, heal wounds, and even communicate silently with others who shared its energy. It was as if the artifact was preparing him for something greater. One evening, as the sun dipped below the skyline, painting the city in hues of orange and purple, the dragon projected a new hologram. This time, instead of stars or maps, it showed images of Earth, cities thriving alongside alien technology, humans working hand in hand with beings from other worlds. In the center of the projection stood a figure resembling Jason, standing tall beside a colossal dragon. "What does this mean?" Jae-sun asked aloud, though he already suspected the answer. "It's showing you your role," Hirin said, to her tone reverent. "You're not just a guardian anymore. You're an ambassador, a link between our world and theirs." "But why me?" Jae-sun asked, turning to face her. "I'm nobody, just a mechanic." "You're wrong," Min-ju interjected, leaning against the counter. "You fixed the dragon when no one else could. You fought the Kael'thar when everyone else would have run. That makes you exactly the person they need." Jae-sun stared at the hologram, feeling a mix of fear and determination. He didn't ask for any of this, but deep down, he knew he couldn't walk away. The dragon had chosen him, and through it, he had found a purpose far beyond fixing broken toys. Their preparations intensified. Using the dragon's data, Min-ju developed systems to detect incoming threats from space. Hyerin trained Jae-sun in strategies used by the Veilith, and teaching him how to anticipate their moves and counteract them. Together, they transformed Jae-sun's shop into a hub of innovation and defense, a hidden sanctuary where humanity's future could begin to take shape. Months passed without incident, but the calm only fueled Jae-sun's unease. He knew the Kael'thar weren't gone. They were regrouping, planning their next move. And when they returned, they wouldn't come alone. His fears proved true one fateful night. The sky lit up with streaks of fire as ships descended from orbit, their designs unmistakably alien. Dozens of them circled the planet, projecting messages in languages no human could understand. Among them floated a massive vessel shaped like a dragon, its eyes glowing ominously. "They're here," Min-ju said grimly, monitoring the ships on her laptop. "This isn't just the Kael'thar. It's the entire Veilith Council." Hyerin looked pale. "They've come to decide Earth's fate." Jae-sun clenched his fists. "Then let's show them what we're made of." With the dragon at his side, Jae-sun stepped outside into the cool night air. Above him, the alien fleet loomed, casting shadows over the city. As he raised the dragon high, it emitted a brilliant light that pierced the darkness. The ships paused, their movements halting as if waiting for something. A beam of energy shot down from the largest ship, materializing into a towering figure, the leader of the Veilith Council. Its scales shimmered like liquid gold, and its presence radiated authority. It regarded Jae-sun with piercing eyes, speaking in a voice that resonated like thunder. "Human," it said, its tone neither friendly nor hostile. You have taken possession of one of our artifacts. Explain yourself." Jae-sun took a deep breath, steadying his nerves. "I didn't take it. It chose me. I repaired it, protected it, and learned from it. Through it, I've seen the potential for peace between our species. If you want Earth, you'll have to go through me." The council leader studied him for a long moment, then turned to the dragon. To everyone's surprise, the artifact responded, glowing brightly and emitting a series of melodic tones. The council leader tilted its head, listening intently. Finally, it spoke again. "The dragon has bonded with you. Such a connection is rare, even among our kind. Tell me, human, what do you propose?" Jae-sun hesitated, then straightened his posture. "Earth isn't ready to join your alliance, not yet. But give us time. Let us prove ourselves worthy. See, teach us how to coexist peacefully, and we'll stand beside you as equals." The council leader exchanged glances with the other ships before nodding slowly. "Very well. We will grant you this chance. But know this, failure will not be tolerated." With that, the ships ascended into the sky, disappearing into the stars. The dragon dimmed its glow, returning to its small form in Jae-sun's hands. He exhaled deeply, realizing the enormity of what had just happened. "Well," Min-ju said, breaking the silence, "looks like you're officially part of the galactic community now." Hyerin smiled faintly. "It's only the beginning." In the days that followed, Jae-sun worked tirelessly to prepare Earth for its new role. With the dragon's guidance, he established communication channels with the Vaylith and other alien species. Slowly but surely, humanity began taking its first steps toward the stars. Though challenges lay ahead, Jae-sun faced them with unwavering resolve. The boy who once fixed broken toys in a quiet alley had become a guardian of worlds, a bridge between species, and a symbol of hope. Somewhere out there, the Vaylith watched and waited, and Jae-sun knew that whatever came next, he wouldn't face it alone.